Hi and welcome back. Before we get started, I want to show you something from one of the Facebook groups.
I'm Justin from the Body Shop Appraiser. I've been an appraiser for most of my life. What we have here is a Toyota taillight, I believe out of a Toyota RAV4. And Lexus is also a Toyota product. And here we have these old back ribs that have been in our freezer for like 2 years. And I was like, we're not going to eat them. And this is probably about as realistic as it can get. So for this test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this taillight lens and see what it takes to crack it with the back rib. All right, so let's start off slow and then we'll move it up from there. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Okay, let's try it. Yeah, that did not break. All right. The ground. All right. Oh, it just cracked right here, a little bit apart. Cracked down here too, probably from the zip tie. Oh no! Beer bottle, take one. Not broken.
Cracked?
No, no cracks.
No cracks.
I don't want to break this beer bottle in my hand though either. Josh. Still not broken.
I think I told you guys that I had ordered a Lexus taillight to do experiments with. One of the first things that I noticed is how many layers there are. And see how much red there is? That's partially because of the outer cover. See how it's all red, smooth polycarbonate. And y'all, there was so much taillight in the trial exhibits, way more than the 47 pieces that were discussed in the trial. The MSP crime people only reassembled the outer cover. The rest of the pieces were disregarded. See all of these clear pieces? They don't count. Where do they come from? Where do they go? Why is nobody talking about them? Well, we're not talking about them because this is an absurd amount of pieces, layers upon layers. And they know it. The Commonwealth knows it. And now we know it because we saw Justin the appraiser slamming the rack of ribs against it. It is absurd to claim that one man's elbow could do that when cars that have been nearly totaled have taillights that are relatively unscathed by comparison. So you start to wonder, did all these pieces even come from the same taillight? It's a ridiculous thought, isn't it? It's so far-fetched. They'd need to have access to some other similarly sized, similarly shaped taillight with an abundance of red cover. Where would they get a donor car on such short notice in a way that wouldn't raise suspicion? Goodness knows they have a bunch of Ford Edges in Canton. It's practically the official car of the town. But if you look at the taillight of the Ford Edge, it's the wrong shape. It's a crescent. And the outer shell is clear, not red. Besides, somebody would notice if a police vehicle was missing a rear right taillight, wouldn't they? And where would they hide the vehicle in the meanwhile? It feels like the musings of a mad person. But, well, let me just roll that beautiful bean footage.
Can I get your name and badge number?
Yeah, Officer Berkowitz, 1614.
Did you know you have a bad inspection sticker?
Yep, the maintenance
Oh, you
guy's
do?
aware of it.
Oh, okay. And you're driving around just
They're
running
fixing it.
errands with a bad inspection sticker?
All right, have a good day, guys.
What
Have a
happens
good
if the public did that?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
For thee, but not for me.
That's what I'm doing. He pulled up so fast, I thought he was here for a call. You got a bad sticker, I think, sir. Uh-oh, we got a bad sticker on the Canton car. Yep, 2022, 8. Got a bad sticker. Look at this thing shouldn't be on the road. We might have to stop by Canton PD and put in a public records request or a complaint. This is dangerous for police officers and the public. Did you see how fast he pulled in here? Guys, this police cruiser has no brake light. The brake light is actually closed. The brake light is in the back. Look at the brake light's in the back. What are we doing? You want to ask us? You can. Does it look like it? Oh, it does? This brakes in the cars? Oh, really? Did you know this police car? Did you know this police car has a bad inspection sticker and it has no brake light?
I'm not a cop.
Did you know that, though?
No. Who are you?
What do you think about that? Who are you?
I want to know who you are.
Who are you?
I'm doing a YouTube channel of people breaking into police cars.
Oh, cool.
All right, so to recap, we have the fellas from the account Mass Accountability, and they were reviewing their own footage from a visit to Dedham back in 2022, and they found this. Baby Berkowitz, who lives at home with former Chief Ken Hide-a-Dead Body Berkowitz, driving a Canton PD Ford Interceptor in October of 2022, which was 9 months after John's death, with a sticker that had expired 2 months earlier in August of 2022 and no rear right taillight. And the housing, the encasement, is in the trunk without the lens pieces. What are the odds? Literally. And look at the shape and the ratio of the red and the white. And geez, I hate this. But even when you get a little bit closer to it, look at the ridges and the dots along these pieces that were never reassembled from Karen's taillight, or maybe I should say from the scene. I'm not saying that they used a temporary taillight to stage their crime scene. I'm not saying that. But if they wanted to, it sure seems like they could. Who would stop them? This can't be reality. Are we all collectively dreaming together? And that is only the first of 10 items of unfinished business. Item number 2, Trooper Bukhenik wrote on page 1 of his report memorializing his interview with Chris and Julie Albert that the couple had followed back to Fairview on January 29th of 2022. Did they? Nobody knows. You know what would have resolved this? A proper geofence. And from what I understand, Lolly tried to conceal this detail by having Trooper Bukhenik start reading from the second page of his report at the grand jury so that they wouldn't have to explain that. That's a problem. We need to get to the bottom of this. Item number 3. In the same report, Julie Albert reportedly stated here, and again possibly during the grand jury, that she found out John had died when Jen called her at 4:55 a.m. that morning. Did Julie misstate the time? We would know if they had obtained a warrant for the Alberts' phone records. Item 4. During the trial, it was practically Armageddon when Laura Sullivan testified that Karen texted her that they had found John dead at 5 a.m. Remember how Adam Lawley tried to manipulate this to imply that Karen had personally found John at 5 and that she then pretended to find him at 6 a.m. with witnesses? Because of a typo. And remember, Karen had left the house shortly after 5 a.m., and I sincerely doubt that she was keeping up with the clock during the stress of that situation. So to her, it probably seemed like 5 a.m. because that was her last touch point. Well, Proctor's initial report indicated that firefighter Katie McLaughlin claimed that they found John at 5 a.m. Typo from Proctor? Misstatement by McLaughlin? The world may never know. Everyone is allowed to have typos and misspeak. Everyone except Karen Reed. The hypocrisy is astounding. Item 5, compounding the confusion. There's been a pervasive rumor that a CB radio, walkie-talkie type radio announcement the morning of January 29th, 2022, claimed that someone had been hit by a plow on Fairview Road around 4 a.m. And then, just as quickly, it was retracted and potential witnesses were intimidated into silence. See John Como's video from this past Sunday. Here, it looks like this, and see where the red line is below the thumbnail that has Nan on it? See how it's about 20% of the way through the video? That is around where you'll find the interview with Mr. X. Talk about unfinished business, right? Okay, this one puzzles me. Number 6, Alli McCabe stated during her testimony that Colin wasn't at the house when John was there. Many people felt that this was an incriminating slip-up. However, it's unchallenged that John was found on the property, which means John was at least there. So I've always wondered why this was a big deal. Is this because she said house instead of yard? Maybe you guys can explain to me why this was considered so incriminating. This next one, well, Brian Higgins started this rumor himself. Number 7, Brian Higgins did not text, "Where you at?" to John O'Keefe. He was not providing directions. Higgins lied on the stand when he told Adam Lawley that he texted John, "Where are you?" His exact words were, "You coming here? ? And this is a menacing phrase. I hope the defense confronts him with his own written words and doesn't let him wiggle on this. This is one of the first lies that Higgins told, despite his claim that he always tells the truth. Perhaps a more accurate statement would be Brian Higgins sometimes tells some version of the truth and twists it around to cover his own behind, because number 8, Higgins claims he saw a tall, dark-haired man entering 34 Fairview who was only there briefly, very quickly. It was discussed here, and here. Who was this mysterious man? I think we all know, Kevin from South Boston. We all know. While finding the transcript of Brian Higgins' testimony, I found a few other things that we should probably keep in mind. The sweep of the driveway. It is my theory, my belief, that Higgins probably didn't have the plow on his Jeep and may not even have been driving his Jeep. Let me explain why. Higgins was interviewed later than the other primary witnesses. We haven't seen a report of his interview. Through the rumor mill, we've heard that Higgins checked himself into a rehab facility in Sharon, Mass. His interview apparently took place at the facility on February 3rd. Where I come from, people go to rehab to postpone being arrested. They go because they don't want their blood to be tested. They go because hiding out and needing time to get organized, and they think that it will look favorable to the judge that they're being proactive about their problem and seeking help. And like I said, it's a rumor about Higgins and rehab, but it makes sense. And it's supported by one of the questions that Alan Jackson asked during the trial that, of course, Adam Lawley objected to. Anyway, back to the story. Everyone else was already asked about and had provided an excuse as to why they hadn't seen John's body on the lawn. Brian Higgins needed to have a fresh, new, unused personal excuse about why he didn't see the body on the lawn. Higgins is not going to admit to drinking and driving in his federal-issued work vehicle, not under oath, and not when he has already broken 2 other federal laws and also probably helped to kill someone. What could his excuse be? What's a believable reason why he didn't see John's body? He couldn't claim that he exited in the other direction because at that point, they didn't know who they'd be able to manipulate and who they wouldn't. His cell phone data and any potential Ring cameras could easily dispel that. If Higgins pretended that he was looking down to fiddle with, say, the plow lever, that would be a good excuse. Perfect lie on the night of a blizzard. But unfortunately, lies always require more lies. So he'd need to come up with an excuse about why he'd forgotten the plow in the downward position. So he has to lie and say that he did a sweep of the driveway, except it wasn't snowing yet. So then he has to lie and say that it was a quote-unquote joke sweep. Haha, just being a smart aleck. And that's why none of us got the joke, because it's not a joke, it's a lie. By the way, I keep hearing people speculate that Higgins somehow hit John with the plow and caused John's injuries. This isn't logical because the plow is only 22 inches high. So that's like knee height when it's down. And even when it's up, it's still not that far off the ground. John would have had to be standing on his head in the middle of the street to get those injuries. Listening back to Higgins was a trip. I do not recommend it. It was absolute torture. I was reminded of how combative his answers were, how hypothetical, how splitting hairs, how excessively verbose for simple yes or no questions. Talk about a talker. He said absolutely that he did not talk to anyone on the phone that night. And we can believe Brian Higgins because he claims he always tells the truth. But remember, Brian Higgins was very quick to tell Alan Jackson to check the cameras. So it looks like someone knew the CCTV was working. Or maybe he knew they weren't working. And again, I'm using air quotes. All right, so Tall, Dark, and Handsome was unfinished business number 8. And then we had the sweep of the driveway and the talking on the phone lie. So that means that we're up to number 11. Guess we're overachievers. We'll save the tail light for last. So number 11, during the 6 a.m. 911 call, Jen claimed that they had flipped John over, which is weird because Carrie said that John was facing up, and Karen said that John was facing up, and even Jen herself said that John was facing up when she was interviewed by Kathleen Prince on February 1st of 2022. Number 12. In the same 911 call, Jen said he got out of the car. Like, what? I have tried and tried and tried to think of a logical reason why she might have said this. What would she say if she was confronted on the stand? Would she say that she uttered this in her shock and horror? That she was confused and overwhelmed? Would she try to say that it was a question instead of a statement? Oh, he got out of the car? Because apparently one can't ask questions in Canton. They're an arrestable offense. Karen asked, "Did I hit him?" And it was twisted into a confession. Aiden asked questions, and it was considered felony witness intimidation. So, might be nice to get to the bottom of that one, right? Here's hoping. Okay, the taillight. Let me show you a series of photos. Here's cracked. Here's cracked with a hole. Here's obliterated and reconstructed. And here's what Matt had to say. She broke her taillight, cracked her taillight, something to that effect. But these people try to cover their dishonesty with more words. So he continues. My concern was that she had a broken taillight. What I thought by a broken taillight was that her taillight was out, meaning there was no light. Okay, so Matt heard hearsay that Karen's taillight was cracked, and he somehow interpreted that to mean that the bulb had burned out. Okay, whatever. Jen, who saw the taillight with her own 2 beady eyes, relies on hearsay too. And here's what she had to say. She says, look, see, I have a cracked taillight. And then Jen says, there were missing pieces, but there was also snow covering it. I mean, it couldn't have been much snow, right? Let's take a look. All right, well, there's more snow than I expected, but okay, I pulled the vibrance all the way up, and is it me, or does the snow behind Karen and the reflection off the fence look pink? The only way that it could be pink is from the tail light, right? Or are my eyes playing tricks on me? Let's look closer. I don't know. It looks pink to me. Maybe I'm crazy. So then Jen continues, I didn't stare in depth, but what I can tell you is they were missing. I saw missing pieces from the taillight. Missing pieces, not a whole dang taillight. And then Proctor wrote, once Karen, Jennifer, and Carrie arrived at John's house, they looked at the broken taillight. Jennifer stated that she observed a broken/cracked right taillight to Karen's SUV, which is pretty vague and nondescript. MSP Trooper Kathleen Prince stated in her report, she, referring to Jen, did notice damage to the taillight. Interestingly, the next statement is Jen said that Karen was so hysterical and was saying so many things that Jen did not think that Karen actually hit him. So that was Jen's impression in the moment that she relayed to Kathleen Prince in a report dated February 1st, 2022. But what about Carrie? What words did she use to describe it? There was a piece missing, but it was caked on with snow. You could tell there was a little black hole. A piece. 1. Got it. But Carrie also said, at one point in the driveway, she said, my taillight, look at my taillight. And I looked at it. Okay, so Carrie looks, and she continues and says, Karen said, do you think I hit him? And remember, while looking at the mysterious damage, Carrie says, no, I don't think you hit him. I think you probably hit something, but... And so far, Carrie has used the most specific language. Carrie further described it as there was one piece, like a rectangle encapsulated, like whatever was broken. I remember there was one piece of metal sort of sticking out. So if it was an encasement for like a light of some sort, I remember looking at it and the piece was sort of sticking out and I thought, somebody's going to catch their sleeve on that or something. You guys know what that sounds like, right? See this green dot in the center of the reconstructed taillight? It sounds like this was the extent of the damage. This little missing bit here with a little bit of the black plastic from the housing poking up through it. And that is it. And then we have Officer Barrows, the Dighton police officer, who said, to the best of my ability and recollection, that taillight was not completely damaged. It was cracked and a piece was missing, but not completely damaged. So let's look at what was presented to the jury. This is what they were shown. This is what they were told the taillight looked like. And all these pieces here, they're claiming that these were recovered at 34 Fairview, plus many, many more. Oh, and hey, are you wondering what this chart is? Let me make it a little bit bigger for you. This is from Reddit. I don't remember who made it, but it wasn't me. It was somebody fantastic who labeled all the pieces and color-coded it according to who found what and when. And are you seeing the pattern? The CERT team found the pieces in turquoise closest to the little hole in the center that we were just talking about. And then, going anti-clockwise, you see each batch that was discovered. And wouldn't you know, each person who went to the crime scene found pieces that came from that same little area. What are the odds, right? What are the freaking odds? Let me show you some photos of cars that were hit by other cars at speed. Look at what a huge impact some of these cars can take, and it doesn't even impact the taillight. When the taillight is impacted, look at how much damage is done to the rest of the vehicle. It's basically totaled. I've been looking at pictures of taillights with varying states of damage, like hundreds of pictures, and the only vehicle that I have seen with damage consistent to what we have observed on Karen's SUV, with the taillight lens effectively demolished and missing, housing out of the socket, minor to negligible damage to the vehicle itself, is the Canton Cruiser, the Ford Interceptor, driven with an expired sticker by one Officer Berkowitz in October of 2022, 9 months after John died. What are the odds, right? I hope that you'll like this, share this with others who are passionate about details, and that you'll double check that you're subscribed, because there is a lot more where this came from. And until the next one, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of our community. I love you.